In Bubble, we need to set up the size of our inputs correctly. The reason is that how an input is set up influences our user experience. It helps us to understand the input or what it does. For example, if we look at it over here, we immediately understand for this bio input that we're expected to provide multiple lines. Whereas if I go up to the university over here, we immediately understand that I'm only expected to place one line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the best practices for setting up the height of inputs and buttons. Let's jump over to the editor. So in the editor over here, it's really important for us to define consistent heights for input and button elements just to make sure that we have a consistency in our UX design across the pages of our application. If I click on this input over here, you can see this light gray which represents padding, and we have a padding of 10 pixels on the left and 10 pixels on the right. Additionally, we want to make this element fixed height. So we have a fixed height of 40 pixels. If I go down to this button over here, we have padding on the left and right of 15 pixels. We also have this element to be a fixed height of 40 pixels. Now, the only exception to us using a fixed height is when we go to this multi-line input. So first of all, I want to highlight that there is padding on this input. So we have 8 pixels on the top and the bottom, and then 10 pixels on the left and right. And just to highlight why we do this additional padding is if I click on this one over here, this 10 pixels on the left means that when we do start writing, there's a bit of an offset from the edge of the input element. And that just makes it a little bit more cleaner for us as a user when we start writing. Now, the only difference here is that we don't make this element fixed height. Instead, we set it to be a minimum height of 80 pixels, which is 2 lines. And then we check the box of fit height to content. So this indicates to the user that they can add lines as they add more lines and add more content, the input actually extends to fit to the height of the content. So that allows us to see all of the content on the page without having to scroll through the input. So that video quickly covers how to set up input and button elements to ensure a consistency in the UX design across the pages of your application.